quite six yet.
Stand on the chair, yeah, with the.
It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Let the record reflect that every board member is here and our 2 student reps are here also. It's a full house. All right, pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the agenda, I know we want to add in conditional approval of overnight stay. Was there anything else to add into the agenda? So why don't we put that maybe right before superintendent's report?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve the updated agenda?
Motion to approve the updated agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. That was easy. Student achievement. Dan, are you going to do this for us?
Yeah.
We're going to recognize a student this month, and Dan has the information and will be doing the honors for us.
So Kennedy, Lechuga Huber, why don't you come on up, Kennedy, if you're comfortable with that.
She's like, yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
So we first had Kennedy here back in November, and it was a pretty packed house, and we weren't able to recognize all of her wonderful achievements. She's a second grader in Mrs. Flynn's class, and was recognized by Mrs. Flynn and others for doing such outstanding things, and just being a great person, a great friend, and just an upstanding classmate to others. And so we just wanted to recognize you for all of the good things that you're doing. You're a model student, and we're lucky that you attend our school. So I just wanted to thank you. Those are my words. I'm going to say what she had to say. Kennedy consistently operates in a safe manner in and outside of the classroom. She walks in line with her hands to her side. She walks in designated areas. When she plays with her friends, she is very, very careful. We're lucky to have such a safe member of our classroom community. And so I saw so many other things, so I expanded on that. But we're thankful, Kennedy, for you, and we're thankful for your parents and your brother that you could come and share this moment with us. And this is why we do this, to see students do great things. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
You want to say anything to everybody? You don't have to.
You can go back into the chair. Thank you for coming.
Good job, Kennedy.
Thank you for bringing her. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, let me get back to where we're at. Okay, thank you. Response from previously asked questions or comments that came up at the last meeting. Dan, do you want to go over those?
Yeah, I'll do them. I think the first, Jeff, I think you have 2 questions, if I've interpreted correctly. Let me share what I have here. First question, wages for classified staff have been discussed and explained in person and other settings. Specifically, wages for avid tutors were set up when the program began in 2012, with the tutoring positions designated or designed to be filled by high school students, college students, or retired community members. You can apply for any other open positions in the district or other at any time there's an opening. It's up to you. When the middle school schedule changed this year, we recognized the hardship, and I think the administrators have offered to fill in some of that time, and that, I think that's still there. I don't know for sure. The 2 short things. You can talk to Brett and Kim about it, though. Question 2, capital facilities plan for Sultan School District is updated every 2 years. The plan needs to be updated and approved by the City Council and Snohomish County Council so that the school district can collect the impact fees from eligible projects. Whether the fee goes up or down is entirely determined by a formula including student generation rate from multifamily and single-family units that are being built. The fact that some apartments were designated in the comprehensive plan doesn't allow me or the school district to set the fees wherever we want. in that particular case, we had to base the student generation rate on multifamily homes that were in Snohomish County, because we don't have any in our school district, or not a large enough sample to be able to get any kind of a determination of what kind of student growth would take place with that. I encourage you to call. I can answer these questions really easy. If I don't have the answer, I can get one. So if that isn't clear, then just give us a call and I'll answer the questions the best I can. Second one from Carrie Ahrens, is the property purchased by the school district landlocked? No. When we initially purchased the property, we were exploring several different easements, and one of them was off of 116th. In that time, there was I was working with DNR to develop an easement, and one of the things they wanted us to do was to have the 2 acres logged, sell the timber, and then they would put the road in, and it became too confusing very quickly. But because we got 49 acres for $455,000, it dawned on everybody that 2 acres would be pretty inexpensive. So we're going to purchase the 2 acres, and we'll have direct access. And we're still working on 2 other easements, and there's really several different options. It's not uncommon. When we built the transportation cooperative, we had to work through an easement process, and hopefully those go well, but you never know. In this particular case, with the bond for the school on the November ballot, all the costing was set up to go into place January of 2026. There was some easement roads built into the cost. Turning dirt was part of the overall cost of the school, and so there was a year to hire an architect, construction company, and there's a lot of things that have to take place. School districts have actually run bonds that needed them without even knowing where a property to build a school was. We don't want to do that, but there are things that do happen. So I am open to answering any questions that you might have, and while I'll give you the information I do have, some things just aren't known, but that's how that worked.
Thank you. Public comment. I think everyone signed up that wanted to. Reminder, total time is 30 minutes. Each speaker has a maximum of 3 minutes. Public comment period is the only time that the public is recognized to speak. Not a time for dialogue between the board and the public, but rather an opportunity for the board to listen to individuals on educational issues, and board members are encouraged to listen attentively. The board chair or superintendent might ask a speaker a clarifying question or respond to a specific comment. If you have a specific question or issue you would like the district to follow up on, please let us know and someone will contact you within 72 hours. Finally, please remember that your words have impact, and you, not the school district, are responsible for your words. We ask that you help us model for our students what a respectful and inclusive community looks and sounds like. Jeff Estes, you get to use our lovely handy dandy podium there. Just be careful, it will wheel away from you. The other one's at the other building.
Behind it or in front of it?
Well, your choice.
You can walk around with it.
It's aptly timed, easy fiction. Let's see here. Set my timer. Greetings, school board and administration. Thank you for the opportunity to comment tonight. I'm Jeff Estes and I reside in Startup. And thank you, Dan, for addressing questions from the last school board meeting. Sometimes it gets blurry whether I'm speaking from a parent or a public employee point of view, but the common ground here is that I want and wish for the best educational experience for all the students. I've read and been notified about some new district committees being formed. Bravo. Might I suggest a committee, however, that in light of future district finances can pursue establishing and building co-ops and public-private partnerships to help lower costs. I might also just suggest more collaboration with other school districts, see what they're doing, what's working and what's not, to be more mindful of district spending. I noticed in the accounts payable, it just had 2 entries and there wasn't much explanation on that. I think in prior ones, I don't know if that was just 2 payments, but in prior ones usually it had a list of all the checks the warrants and explanation, or at least itemized what it was, and so I wasn't sure if this recent one was different or not. It was, I think, a warrant in there for around 43,000. I wasn't sure if that was just one payment for something, or if that was a total of a lot of payments. And concerning Dan Baller's financial report and presentation, and I quote, "Do we give first priority to fulfilling all projects identified in the levy, or do we fully retire debt?" May I humbly suggest both, since you're dealing with the community taxpayers' funds, and next time you seek a loan, bond, or levy, that you're better planned and confident that the revenue will fulfill the needs of the district and expectations promised to the public. Last, concerning policy 2125, may I suggest that you include any supplemental materials that are provided or used by the teacher or district. Make those also available and reviewed by parents and the public. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Joe.
Joe.
Thanks, Jeff.
We'll be touching a little bit later on, one of your comments was like what other school districts are doing. That's one of the reasons that we do things like the WASA conference that some of us just went to, because then we get to meet and network with people from school districts all over the state. I think Michael got a bunch of cards, a lot of different people, so. All right, consent agenda. One of the things we learned at the conference was other districts add more stuff into their consent agenda than we do, so, which it kind of helps make their meetings go by a little quicker, because they put things in like overnight travel, simple things that we really don't need necessarily a presentation and to do, so we're moving some things into there. We're gonna start slowly, but just let everybody know, but anytime, a board member can ask at any time to pull something out of the consent agenda, if they don't feel comfortable leaving it in there and they wanna discuss it. Does anyone want to pull anything out of the consent agenda this evening? No? Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
A motion to approve the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So, reorganization of board roles every year, the first, I guess the only meeting of December, we do reorganization. It's approval of election of officers as voted. We will be voting for chair and vice chair, president, vice president, however you want to call it. So we'll do president first. Do we have any nominations
I'd
for
like
president?
to nominate Mike Barnell for chair or president of the school board.
Are there other nominations?
For the president?
Yeah.
For the president?
Yes. Are you willing to do?
I'll nominate Gigi.
So, yeah. Any other nominations?
Time's an issue for me.
Other nominations?
No.
No? Okay, so we'll do, Kayla, what did she say we need to do then? One and then the other? Or? Well, if he doesn't want to do it, then do you not want to do it?
Well,
'Cause I know you wanna
If it's
do
voted, then I
vice.
will do that, but if I'm not voted, then I would be more than happy to give it back to them.
Because I know you wanted to do vice, but, so we'll do, I guess, let's do what did she say to do, Kayla? Roll call and then for each person, or roll call and you say who you want? We're trying to do it the right way, so we asked.
If somebody nominates, then you do any opposed,
Okay,
all in favor of.
we have to do roll call though. So, let's do, I guess student reps. We'll do that first. Do you guys have any comments before we vote? No? Okay. Mike, who would you like to vote for?
Gigi.
Mary Ann,
Mike.
Isaac,
Gigi.
Michael.
I'll vote for Gigi.
I am president then. I need nominations for vice president, vice chair,
I'll nominate Mike.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Going once, we have to say it 3 times. So any other nominations? No? You guys have any comments? Michael?
No?
Do you have, we had to roll.
Oh, do I have comments? No. Do I vote? Yeah, I vote for Mike.
Thank you. I vote for Mike.
Mike?
Mike.
All right.
Mike.
Mike's like, dang it. Thank you. Okay. Next, board committees and liaison positions. We talked a little bit about this on Thursday. WIAA is Mike. Is that still correct? Okay.
Yes.
CFAC is Michael,
Yep.
correct? You still good with that?
Yeah.
I am due instructional materials. You're not getting rid of me yet. I do the mental health, policy, facilities and transportation liaison.
Sure.
Okay. And then Grant nothing's happened with that yet, so we'll discuss looking for like somebody else that might wanna really do that. And then legislative rep is done in June or July. And then there's a couple other committees that are, Paul is organizing one. And then maybe, I think Laura's in the back, Parent Advisory Committee, I want to speak to, maybe do it a little bit like, you don't have to do it, but make one district-wide. So we're looking at some other things and we can vote on those when we get to that point. All right, community association reports. Do we have SEA, PSE, Teamsters, nothing? Policy committee, oh, that's me. Policy 2125 was scheduled to be a first read tonight, but we're gonna get it reviewed by the Mental Health Advisory Committee for updates before we vote on it. And also, we're drafting a land and people's acknowledgement in collaboration with local tribes and Sky Valley Indian Education, Mars Miller. So that'll be probably for January. Okay. Student voice.
Laura had a question in the back.
Oh,
And, actually Andrea did,
Oh.
she didn't hear. We just didn't hear the last part.
okay. Just we're drafting a land and people's acknowledgement in collaboration with local tribes and Sky Valley Indian Education's Mars Miller. So working on that.
So just so you know the background, the one that you passed forward to us, we were prepared to kind of talk about it tonight and then ran it by Mars Miller, and there's a little bit of work with that, just
Yeah.
for accuracy, but thank you for doing all that.
Yeah, so thank whoever did that, thank you so much, and we were gonna dive right into it, and then she's like, wait a minute, there might be some tweaks in there, so we're gonna work with her
That's
and,
how it all came together.
yeah, get the tweaks fixed, and then we'll get it started hopefully next month, so. All right, student voice, ladies.
Hi, I'm Cameron Skeeth. I'm a senior at Sultan High School.
I'm Isabella Webb. I'm a junior at Sultan High School.
Okay, so we have some things to talk about with you guys. Today I'm going to start kind of kick us off with the sports that's happening at Sultan High School right now. Boys and girls basketball both kind of kicked off last week with their first games, and for the girls pretty well. I'm sorry, but it did not go as well for the boys, but they're still going to come back and do their best. This week though, the girls basketball have 2 home games, Tuesday and Friday, so if you want to kind of stop by, the JV game starts at 5 p.m. on Tuesday for girls, and following with that JV at 6:45 p.m. And then for boys, they also have a game Tuesday, doubleheader. So basically, we call it a quad at the high school, where the boys and girls both play during that same day. And on Tuesday, JV starts at 5 p.m. and varsity at 6:45 p.m. Because we're using our middle school and our high school, so we can get those games both happening at the same time.
Yeah, and along with that, wrestling had their first duel last Thursday, and then first tournament on Saturday. And then this week, they have another duel on Thursday and duel on Saturday. And along with that, next we go to ASB. Our Turk of the month for November was Cameron Ski. And then our staff of the month for November was Miss Debbie. And then something that ASB is doing this year is a giving tree. So each class has their own tree, and we have a couple different options. They're like one item things like marshmallows or shoes, so it's not too much. and it's just different trees for every class. And then we're also doing a coat drive, which is worth spirit points. So whichever class can collect the most coats, they'll get the most spirit points.
Okay, then moving on to our kind of other category. So at Sultan High School, our CTE classes participated in the Ho Ho Holiday Market and Startup, where basically work of students from cutting boards to different like sheets of metal they kind of made into different things. Our greenhouse classes also made candles and just kind of little miscellaneous things. Our Skills USA also helped make some sweet treats, so basically like cookies and brownies and things like that, and sold them at the Ho Ho Market to help kind of, it's a fundraiser to bring money into those programs. And also showcased our students' work. And yeah, that's kind of what's going on at the high school. Moving forward, our plans is to kind of start reaching out more to our elementaries and our middle school. So we're going to be kind of emailing those principals to kind of get into contact with them till we are able to come visit and talk to those students, because we feel that we don't just represent the high school, we represent our middle school and our 2 elementary schools, Gold Bar and Sultan. So we want to push that this year.
Awesome, thank you. Appreciate it, nice job. Community report, Dan?
Yeah, let me get it open here. So upcoming, this is, it's gonna, 2 weeks, then we're out for a little while for Christmas break. And so holiday potluck on the 13th, which is this Friday. Holiday break dates are announced as the 20th, will be half-day early release. And winter break will run from December 23rd, which is Monday, through 1/3/25. So coming right up, 2025 is right in front of us here.
Thank you. We have Sultan High School Steering Committee. Half of our audience. Sorry for the podium.
No, it's okay. As everybody's coming up, I know she's not gonna brag about herself, but I'm going to brag about her. Cameron Skeeth was actually nominated to play in the All-State Volleyball Tournament yesterday. And she is the first and only volleyball player that has been recognized and been able to play in this game. Her team, which was the orange team, actually took all 4 sets yesterday, so.
Awesome.
Nice.
Good job.
Congratulations. She's just a little embarrassed.
You left that out, Cameron? Seriously?
Yeah, I don't be talking about myself.
I get it. I
Come on up, team. So we have our team here from Sultan High School. I'm Sarita Whitmire Skeeth. I am the principal for Sultan High School. We're gonna go on down. You wanna start here?
I'm Jenny Peterson. I'm one of the counselors at Sultan High School.
Carissa Kelly, I'm a teacher, CTE director, and I help in technology department this year.
Laura Brink, associate principal.
I'm Vanessa Hadigoy, school counselor.
Brandy Gornell, CTE health science teacher.
I'll go to the next slide. So, couple years ago, during negotiations for the SEA contract, one of the things that was brought up is to look at our schedule and possibly do a schedule change. So what had happened is we put a committee together, and on that committee, we had different stakeholders that sat on that committee. We had people, it was mainly it was all secondary. So we had secondary teachers from middle school and high school. We also had admin from the middle school and high school. And then we had district rep and board rep that sat in on that committee to do some research about what schedule was best for students moving forward. And so that committee did a lot of work and did a lot of research on that to try to figure out what schedule was best for our students. And then they made a presentation to the board. And then the board said, all right, Sultan High School, you guys, it's now back in your court. And so we put a team of people together to figure out how we were going to make a 4-period schedule work at Sultan High School. So the people you see here are part of the different committees that we established and put on. The whole focus was for instructional needs of students. So that was the big thing that we wanted to do, is focus on student needs and instructional support. So that's kind of how the 4-period day came about. And then, like I said, the committee was put together to look at different things. Next committee, or next slide, please. So we put all of these committees scheduled. We had a scheduling committee, a professional development committee, a stakeholders communication committee, Turk Time, which is our interventions committee, graduation requirements and credits, and then course offerings. So I'm going to let those who are part of those different committees talk about what we're doing now and what we've been doing with those different areas.
Well, since scheduling is first, I will go ahead and start. We actually created a couple of different schedules to look at the 4x4 with our student count to see if the way we set it up would work for students to have enough capacity each class period. I guess I forgot about the bell schedule. You want to talk about
Yes,
that?
so we also drafted a bell schedule of what it would look like. Potentially you can see that on Monday through Thursday, they'd have 2 periods and then do an intervention time. And then we have 2 lunches still, and then they'd have a 3rd and a 4th period. So really all that Monday through Thursday would be intervention. Friday, we would take that out, but we didn't want assemblies to affect our intervention times because we really want to focus that on student needs and trying to help students. So that's why there's 2 Friday schedules. One when it's normal, and then usually once a month, once every month, we typically will have an assembly. And so that's why we created the Friday assembly schedule. And we didn't put it first period because we want students to come to intervention as well as assemblies, and we know them.
So these are the 2 drafts of the master schedule. For either one of them, we would need to hire a special education teacher and then take back our half-time English math teacher. And then we also cannot share teachers with the SVO program. So it would require at least 3 full-time teachers for either of these schedules to work. So in one schedule, all of the departments have common planning time, so they can meet with each other for planning around their units and scope and sequence. However, that leaves about 5 sections without enough seats for students for various class periods. And the second schedule, where most teachers have common planning with each other, with the exception of 2 teachers, I think, we ended up with only 2 sections without enough seats, which is pretty easy to fix. So that is the difference between those 2 schedules. There's a lot of
And both
information
schedules
up there.
require the same amount of FTE additional.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Part of the need of adding another special education teacher is the push-in model. So this year we've done push-in with math. Next year we'll be pushing in with English. So really trying to help get those numbers also in life skills and our course supports and stuff down.
So that might be a position that you need anyway without changing the schedule.
We traditionally have had 4 teachers in that department anyways, so I think it's been 3 for a few years, but when I started here about 12 years ago, we definitely had 4.
And while, you know, working with this master schedule now with what we're offering is very doable, we also need to look at future. So, so as you know, with a 4-period day, that requires you earn more credit, therefore students need more credit. Therefore, year 3 and 4, you need to be offering more variety of things. So I want to make sure that the board understands that and knows that, and it's not just, oh yeah, here's what it is, and that's what we're doing every year. So I just kind of want to make sure that you realize that, you know, this is something we also need to look beyond, because it could take additional staffing in year 3 or 4.
I'm sorry, perfect timing.
Sorry.
So I am with the graduation requirements committee team, and we try to be representative of most subject areas on our team. However, we don't have enough teachers in each subject area to kind of spread that around. But what we did is we looked at what are other districts who have access to 8 credits in a year and what their graduation requirements were. So we kind of compared the different districts to see if we are going to have access to 32 credits for the class of 2029 and beyond. What changes do we need to make within our different subjects to, I guess, prorate along with that? And so ultimately, that's kind of where we're at, what's right in front of you. So for the class of 2029, we're looking at 30 credits. And then the classes that are currently in high school, we have some transition proposals for that. And I would say our team took a lot of, took advantage of the time that we had to really have those hard conversations and discussions around what subject areas to, I was gonna say play around with, but that's inappropriate, to adjust based off of what kids will now have access to. So that's what we came up with, and that is essentially our proposal to the rest of the team if the 4x4 moves forward.
I guess I'll go next because the committee that I lead is all about communicating these kinds of changes and anticipating the needs of information from our primary stakeholders in this, which are our students, right? And so what we did was we pushed out a survey to students and said, hey, if we do this, and we know it feels different and it feels scary, and change is always kind of scary up front, but if we do this, what are your concerns? And my team was actually blown away by the amount of student response. We had over 300 student responses, and within those 300 student responses, we had 595 individual questions. I love it, because they're talking to us. That's great. Right? It was amazing. We have this massive amount of data to work with. We didn't have quite as much luck with parents. We did push out some questions to them to get their input and feedback. We did so with a survey and a quick link to a survey during parent-teacher conferences, to which we got 0 responses. And then just recently, I think it was pushed out in the Sultan newsletter, parent newsletter, and so I quick checked. We have had 3 parent responses. So at least we have some. There's no 0, so I'm gonna count that as a little win. And I'm happy because we wanna hear from parents too and what their concerns are about changes that affect their student, both academically and as far as what it means to be in a class for a little bit longer every day. Students are telling us right now, change makes them worry. It makes them worry. For students who've come to me to speak to me directly about it, I've just told them, you know what, we're all doing this together. So if we move forward with this, you're not gonna be making this change alone. There'll be adults around to help and guide you. Almost 100 responses or questions were tied to specific courses and how they would look in a schedule like this. Well, we didn't have the answer for them yet, but if we move forward, we definitely have it with our master schedule model, and we can answer those questions a little better for them. So for instance, what would it look like if I want to take a class with Mrs. Varnell every day until I leave? And I can explain how they can stay in programs and that kind of thing. But about 100 questions are around specific courses themselves. We did have quite a few questions for our special program students, like our RAP students and our SNOIL students. Those students are actively involved in, still have academic classes at the school, maybe one, and they are involved in sports afterwards, and sometimes they have a little harder time understanding what's happening because they're not here all the time. So some definite questions about how that would look for SNOIL students and RAP students. About 100 students really want us to explain in clear words why. Why the heck? Why are we doing this? And so we're prepared to do that. We have the data that backs it up. We have the data that shows from the original committee's research and from our follow-up research that this is a good choice for kids. And we can tell them why. Most of the questions, over 300 of them, fall in 2 categories from students. One is, how do I earn enough credits? What does that mean for credits? And now we have a really great example of what that means in transition time. So we can answer those questions intelligently for kids. And then by far, the most questions they had was, how long are my class periods? How long is my lunch? And how long are my break times? So these are things that we can answer for them quickly and easily with the transition. I will share with you though one really poignant question that came from a parent, and I appreciate that. The question was, what are we gonna do to help students adjust to being in one area with one teacher for a longer period of time? Will the teachers build in, wiggle breaks? Even teenagers need wiggle breaks. And I can say before we even move forward that the answer is yes. We definitely are not gonna say, okay, you need to sit in that blue chair and not move your behind for 81 minutes. That's probably not what's gonna happen. Most teachers are well aware that the brain needs oxygen to work and to learn. And even now, in a shorter class period day, quite often we're like, okay, stand up. And we're moving those kids around. They're not seated all the time. So yes, the answer to that question is yes. And I really appreciate that question from a parent. So we've got lots of information to go on, lots of ways to answer these questions. Now we just need next steps.
I think that goes right into the professional development. Michelle Fuller's not here today, but part of going into a longer period is now you've got kids sitting in front of you for 82 minutes. And if you try to just lecture and then have them do work, you're going to lose the class. And so we've looked at some professional development needs. What most people wanted it looked like was book studies and maybe going out and seeing what it looks like to have a block period. And so we're looking at those pieces. You can see the books are around $26 to about $42 a piece. And to go out and actually watch other schools in action to see what it looks like in those classes. We'd be needing to pay with the cost of guest teachers to come in and cover for our teachers so they can go out and see that. But definitely when you're at an 82-minute period, you have to go more in depth in your instruction because it is a lot more. And the activities have to be, you actually have the opportunity to do more of those hands-on and those instructional strategies that 47 minutes a day really limits you. Now you can go out and have those kids really explore and play and learn in that period of time.
And then for additional costs, Dave Moon said he will never again have to make a master schedule in Power School, and same with our counselors. So additional costs would be requiring to hire Power School to create our master schedule so that kids can go in and select the schedule and it work out. And he was gonna get costs, but I haven't heard back.
So, we presented to our staff everything that was going on, and our staff still had some questions, and there's still a few of them that are feeling uneasy about a 4-period day. Part of that is just because of the unknown and the work that ties to it. So we surveyed our staff. 21 staff are for the 4x4. We had 16 staff are not, and like I said, a lot of that is for the unknowns. For example, some of our CTE teachers, they're afraid that they're going to lose their programming just because of the way it's developed. And with that, they're going to have to update their frameworks. And so with their frameworks, we would have to pay them to update frameworks and create their classes for that. So just some things that we're working around that for some of our staff, talking about frameworks and changing that. We also have some other people that are concerned about their programming and how are students going to be able to take their program for all 4 years and still for an entire year and still be able to maintain, for example, music. So, if students are a band, you want to have students all 4 years for both semesters, and so that's, that was a conversation we had. But again, it's those things that are the unknown, and we're still, trying to talk our staff. And I think if they went and saw these programs that are already established, they might have a little bit better understanding and feel more comfortable about that. And so what do we need from you? So normally in January, we start, the admin and counselors are together. We start making sure that we have our updated courses that we're course offerings, and we start pushing that out to students. In February, students start registering, And so in January, we need to make sure what schedule we're going to be on so that we can establish all of our course offerings, and our counselors can go down to the middle school and inform our current 8th graders that are gonna be freshmen next year of what's being offered. And so they take a team of students and themselves down, and they talk about registration and course offerings and class schedules. And so we would need to know all that stuff by January, so that when we push counselors and their team down to the middle school, we have a plan. And then we, in February, we also start registering our current freshmen, sophomores, and juniors for the following year. So it's a long process, and because we now have to hire Power School to do that, we really need a decision by January.
So would a decision by the January board meeting work? So what if we proposed where we come up with our questions, other information we want, and we do a workshop at the study session to answer all of our questions, and then make a decision at the January board meeting? Does that give you enough time?
I believe, January, which one?
It would be
The 20, is it the 20?
There's a 13th and a 27th.
27th.
27th, yeah.
Okay.
13th would be the study session, because I know there's some questions on.
We've done this as late as March, so.
Well, yeah, questions on like the PLCs, you know, what are you guys gonna, you know, how much prep time do you guys have, like those kind of things, and then we'll probably have some other questions too. And maybe we can come up with whatever questions that we have and get them to Kayla, who maybe can compile everything, get it to you guys. We can do maybe like do our 5 p.m. workshop on that study session and go over that and get all of our questions answered so that we're prepared to vote on it then in January. Would that work?
That would work. One of the things that we have to be mindful of is current contract states that prep period is basically is a class period, a prep period. So if we were, so that is negotiated in in the SEA contract. And so that's one of the things when we have to go to negotiation is that we have to negotiate that PLC time, because what we're asking is that they have at least 90 minutes a week to work in their PLCs, in addition to the prep stuff that they're already getting, so.
And I think it, on, you know, as far as the cost parameters, it's already been told to me that we'll have to negotiate this, and I don't think the board can even, I wouldn't suggest moving forward until that's ironed out. The whole PLC prep time thing is decided.
Well, if we have to negotiate, are we negotiating out of contract talk, or are we?
Well, I just so you know what's gonna take place, you know, you know, at our last labor management meeting, it came up, and you know, it's okay, well, that's what we'll do then, if that's what's gotta happen. I don't know, you know, you gotta figure something out.
So are we talking renegotiating the current contract or waiting until the contract expires and then negotiating
Well,
separately?
it expires this year, so.
But we can't
negotiation
wait
takes-
until then, because that's way too late, so then this
That's why
change
the
couldn't take
timing's
place
all the
until
problem.
next year.
So,
Okay, although it would probably be on our list of questions. Do you guys have any comments or questions
maybe
while
they're
they're
easy to
here?
resolve, I don't know, I mean, I can certainly throw my 2 bits out
Yeah,
and go with that.
well, I think we need to sit down with them and
Yeah.
talk with them, I could do that. Ladies, do you have questions?
I do have a question. Ms. Whitmire, as building principal, do you really feel this would be a really good opportunity for your students to be the most successful?
Be the most successful, I think it really depends on the student, I mean, and what you're looking at. Here's the opportunity, is that the students that are able to focus only on 4 classes a semester, that's gonna help them a lot more than those students that are having to focus on 7 a semester. So that piece there is very helpful for our students, because now they have less classes they're having to focus on. The one piece that I am concerned about is our students that struggle in a 50-minute class being in a 80-minute class and having to, you know, focus and things like that. So that is a concern of mine. However, if we get the PD that teachers need and they are able to develop their lessons appropriately, and allows some teaching and some activity and some teaching and some activity, it could be very, very good for our students.
Good
And
question.
students could also, within that time period, possibly earn some accreditations and stuff. I know with CTE, like with Woods and things, that they are taking special tests and which sometimes they don't have all that time to do. And so I know that Mr. Whitteman and Mr. Skeeth meets with them after school to practice on some of this stuff. They have the opportunity to practice some of that stuff in class, and then they could take those tests and earn those certificates within that class. So for some, it would be a really good opportunity.
I also wanted to point out, I know this is Andrea, but she consulted with the president of all independent colleges in Washington, and they actually gave us recommendations based on what we're proposing for how this would look for college-bound students and how college-bound students could easily take advantage of the opportunity to earn quite a few credits, even college and the high school credits, AP classes, which would make them better prepared for some of those higher-end competitive schools. So I wanted to point that out too, if that hadn't been discussed.
Can I add something? Okay. So as a CTE teacher, you both have taken classes with me. And I believe, I know you did, I believe you both learned like CPR and first aid and all that from me. Those were long lessons. Do you remember it took us, if we're only in class for, once attendance is done, about 45, 6 minutes of work time, that's not very long, is it? And sometimes the classes when we're working on that stuff, they go like that. This allows us, it's not, the classes aren't twice as long, they're just a little bit longer. And it allows us a little more time to really dive into those clinical skills. If we're looking in a health science setting where it's not broken up for an entire week, we can finish in 2 days. We can finish subjects and spend more time together focusing on those subjects. But the same is true for other classes that are not CTE, right? You really get a chance to practice, you get more chance to ask your teacher questions, maybe work in groups where maybe one group is just excelling and another group is like, what are we doing? And then together, teacher can spend a little time with each group. Do you know what I mean? And the classes aren't so fast, and then they're gone, and then they're refocusing on another 7 times in a day. So I think that there are benefits that as staff members, we can work through that. And it's our job as teachers to figure out how we're gonna teach that curriculum well in that period of time. Is it gonna feel weird the first year? Yes. Is it gonna probably feel kind of hairy? Yeah. But then we'll ease into it, you know?
Cameron, any other questions? Bella, do you have questions?
I think it's definitely like different, something we have to adjust to. And as a running start student, I do only take one class, and it is a CTE class. So like for me, I think this would be a benefit, because I do take Ms. Marnell's class, and it is like really rushed. Like I feel like we can only learn like the instructions one day, and then going over questions another day, and then actually practice half of it one day. So I think it does help in that, but like I can't imagine like sitting in like a math class for that long. But I think it like varies from student to student. I think it's definitely something just to talk to students about. I think I'll benefit from it.
One thing for sure is being very open with it. I feel more students will be more comfortable with this happening if you say everything that you know, so they know. The second you know, they know. I feel like this will be a part of how students are gonna feel more comfortable with this moving forward, if this does move forward.
And that's why, Cameron, we spent so much time developing questions to get their voice. So we've got question after question after questions we can answer. Students are asking for like student information nights. We're ready to do that. We're ready to send out and answer the questions that they're asking. So their voices are heard, their questions are answered, and maybe the anxiety of this kind of a big change comes down just a little.
Because I see this preparing us for a college level class, because you're gonna be in a college class for hours at a time. So I see the benefits of it, but I do caution things.
And then in Started and looking at pathways for like maybe an associate's degree. So kids don't have to go off campus and do those online classes. So that's something that possibly with these extra credits, we can get them coming. Might be helpful for some of our kids. I think we have 70 kids doing Running Start.
65 to 70.
So that would
That's a
help.
lot.
Get some of those
If
kids.
we could keep some of them on campus.
Well, and one of the things that you had, Sarita, you'd mentioned about like the years 3 and 4, we need to prepare for that. That's exciting though, because that gives us more chances to offer more, you know, a bunch of different things. So I see that as like a huge plus. Mike, comments or questions?
No, just for me, if we can work on the numbers, that'll be my main question
Yeah.
is just overall cost.
And we'll gather like our
Yeah.
stuff, but yeah. Mary Ann, do you have anything for them right now? Isaac?
I feel like for it to work, we just have to stand and give them everything they need to make it work. It sounds like it's a very complicated process. If we try to cheap out, it will not. So if we're gonna do this, I wanna
Do it
make sure
right.
we do it right and hire the people they need and give them what they need so the kids prosper, not, this doesn't bog down. So if we're gonna do it, we really need to do it and not whittle away at what their budget or something is. So that's my
Michael?
Frankly, I'm really concerned with attention spans shrinking. We're asking them to concentrate longer. I'm an old guy who went to college a long time ago, and I don't remember college classes being multiple hours. Maybe it was, you know, where I went. I'm looking forward to being wrong. I hope I can, you know, learn more and have some questions answered. 'Cause, yeah, I was surprised that we want to extend hours and ask them to pay attention longer.
But then they're paying attention to only 4 things instead of 7, so maybe that like evens that a little bit. But there are some studies and there, you know, this was researched and stuff, so maybe that kind of information we can get for the board
I'm
to
looking
read.
forward to hearing it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
So is the schedule here just rough and it needs to be verified? Is that kind of where we're at?
Oh, we went through every single period for every single grade level and got the numbers calculated.
So this is what it is?
Based on,
Based on
Roughly,
the current
because we
information.
can't until kids sign up, like we estimate, like on average, there's usually 15 juniors and 16 seniors in chemistry.
Well, I guess my question, let me just, how does Power School need to come in then? Just to verify?
To set it up in Power
This isn't,
School.
yeah, this is
This is an Excel.
Okay. But what you have here in Excel, you think it'll work, it just has to be imported over to Power School? Is that's my,
So it has to be imported in Power School, but the kids register for classes. When students register for classes, they're matched up with what they've registered for. And then we have to run a program to see if we are maximizing the amount of seats
so
for
it's
what's
using the
being
Power School
offered.
tool to do this, is really kind
And
of
that-
the issue.
Because that's one of the things that's really difficult for you guys. I've seen your whiteboard stuff. So that would make it a lot easier to have Power School do this. We
Yeah,
just-
they actually-
Dave needs to tell us how
sorry.
much it would cost. No, Dave needs to tell us how much it would cost.
Yeah,
Dave?
we consulted with them about 7 years ago, and they built 3 different schedules for us to kind of look at the numbers for each one. They did it like it was a piece of cake. So, but that's their job, like
Yeah.
full time. So we have worked with them previously, so that's why.
I've been talking to
reached
Dave
out.
about this, so I can tell you a little
Okay.
bit, just to be ready for it.
Well, and so students register and then Power School goes in and says, hey, if you run this schedule, 96% of students will get their first choice. So you really should have chemistry first period, not third period, or vice versa. Like, so we did that and it took us, I don't know, very long time to do this. Very, very long time.
Hours.
Whereas they're like 5 seconds and it's like, this is the best schedule based on what students need and how many in each class and stuff like that.
They look at students' preference and try to line them up with what their immediate preference is and run the best schedule going forward within the parameters of our 4-period day.
Yeah. So
Kayla,
this
can
was
you
our
send
best
something
guess.
out to us to request our questions and additional information that we want? And then we'll get that together and get that back to you guys as quick as possible. And then the study session in January, we can do that like at the workshop. Awesome.
And for cost of FTE for staff and stuff, we may need to get help from finance.
Yeah. We'll make sure that,
Yeah, that's
get that.
pretty easy, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's 3, you can come up with different levels. It's really making sure that whatever formulates it, you have confidence in what you come out with, that you can verify that it works, because that's really the challenge. I can give you the cost right away.
We'll get all the questions and
And
things.
so with this, we took our SVO teachers back, so that means there's no SVO teacher except for Jason left at SVO. So that's something else that we.
That'll be a
need to
question
look
that
at
we
with
have to
ALA.
discuss.
So the three, though, in my mind, includes whatever you do with SVO. It's
Yeah.
not three on top of pulling SVO over to the high school, correct?
Yes, it is.
It is three on top of that. So really, you're
No,
talking.
it's taking our current teachers that we have at SVO, pulling it all over to S.
The three total, though, are maintaining SVO staff and the sped teacher.
And the
You'd have to hire
English
special
math.
And
teacher.
the SMS, the two that, but yes.
I think those things, just so I can even communicate intelligently about it, have to be clarified. You know, I understand what you're saying, but when we start to pull SVO back and try to figure, okay, where are we at? That's where it gets confusing. So, you pull SVO staff back to the high school, is it three on top of that at the high school? No.
No.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's what I'm trying to verify.
It's a net out of 3, correct? Or just,
So the total's three.
Yes, the
Yes.
total is 3.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, thank you guys, appreciate you coming
Thank
and
you.
Thank you.
presenting.
thank you.
Mike Marin, teaching and learning updates.
Should. Hold right there, I can read it. I have 4 little tidbits of information for you tonight. So I'm gonna start with the youngest, the WA kids. Testing is all done. It was done in, November 15th, it was all due to me, and then I submitted to the state about a week later. We had 135 here at Salton Elementary, kindergartners and transitional kindergartners that took it, 76 out at Gold-Bar, and 2 from our SVA program. So all teachers completed the assessments in the times given, and so it's a great beginning to our assessment windows for this year. Going to jump next to iReady Math, and thank you again for the purchase of that and all of the materials. They are being used in all the classrooms, and we're starting to hear really good things from the teachers and kids, and so we'll look forward to increasing scores as we go that way. So now I'm going to jump to Highly Capable. So Highly Capable is district-wide. We through our stakeholders group, and Gigi, you know that we do stakeholders for pretty much everything that I do. Highly Capable we have about 140 in the program right now. We have 70 referrals already in place, which will go into testing season in January. So it's we do 2 universal screeners, which is something that the state required us to do. We do a nonverbal screener, a general universal screener in the first grade. And so Laura Blaska has visited all of the first grade classrooms and done those assessments, and we have now those that would be recommended, and we've sent letters home to those parents, and so we're hoping to consider those. So it helps us meet the needs of those kids early on, as early as first grade. We also do a third grade universal screener, and that's the COGAT, which is the one that we use for the full testing, the battery. So every third grader in the district is given the first part. We call it the pre-screener, and then they have results from that, and then they have scores that warrant further testing, then we do those tests. That's our Highly Capable program, and so we'll be testing, we'll start with our third grade screeners in January, about the week after we get back, and then that goes until about the first week in March. So that's our timeline, then we'll do a selection committee and all of those things. The last thing that I want to talk about is, guess what? Smarter Balance is already in the works. So we are working with our coordinators right now. They are preparing for testing, and when I say preparing for testing, they're looking at making sure we have students in, which, thanks Dave, I'm not sure if you're around, but we have that uploaded through PowerSchool. But we're also working in some new and improved test and security building plans. It's much more, a lot of information that we have to have about what's happening in each building, and there will be a new teaching test administrator certification, and we're going to suggest that, strongly suggest that with our first and second year teachers. Most of the folks that have been doing it, they know the platform, they can run and get into the things, but we have lots of just problem solving that has to be done for state testing, and we're trying to get ahead of that, and as a state, we're trying to get ahead of that too. So, that certification is kind of a new thing for us, but we will. It's about 30-minute training on that one, and then the actual one that they work in with the test coordinators in the buildings do those things. So we've got all sorts of things. So we got kindergarten and transitional kindergarten first, all of elementary with math. Highly capable is district-wide. We don't see where our numbers drop as far as referrals when we get to middle school, but that's pretty typical in a program. And then the SBA goes from, and Washington assessment of science assessment, comprehensive assessment of science is a third, our 5th, 8th, and 11th, but we have SBA in 3rd through 8th and 10th. So, smattering of each of the things. Any questions?
Questions? Mike?
No.
Marianne? Isaac? Me? No? Nicole?
No?
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
appreciate
Mike.
it.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Paul Douglas.
Good evening, directors.
Mhm.
Welcome to library podium. Sweet. Couple things, I wanted to answer one of Gigi's questions about bargaining that just came up there. We are not allowed to bargain outside the bargaining agreement or outside the bargaining team. Individualized bargaining is considered an unfair labor practice. So if we would like to meet with the union and discuss the topics that we did today, we can certainly ask them if they would want to sit down and bargain that issue. But we have to do a demand to bargain, or they would have to do a demand to bargain. So.
Thank you.
Yep. So I feel like I delivered nothing but bad news, but I don't have a lot of good news, unfortunately.
I prepared them a little bit.
Did you?
I
Okay.
did.
You don't throw things at me then. Wanted to let you know that right now, we have spent, or will spend, because we have the funds encumbered right now, we're looking at spending about $1,685,000 on out-of-district placements for students. Okay. That doesn't include all the transportation costs. That's a significant concern. I'm the one that makes, the final decision, as we have IEP teams that make that. It's a huge concern for me. The number keeps going up every year, more and more. We keep seeing more and more students with high needs that we as a district cannot address. And it's even more frustrating to see those students move out of our district, get their services out of there. As we move forward, we need to start looking at how we're gonna provide programs in our district, so we're not sending students out. And I've given you a presentation before about exclusion, seclusion, integration, and then we get to the point of inclusion. Today I sent out to our administrators and some of our teaching staff what needs to happen in terms of a comprehensive plan for inclusion. It's something the state put out this year, and I forwarded it on. Keep in mind that Public Law 94-142, which is known as IDEA now, was reauthorized twice. It was nearly 40 years ago. In our school district right now, we're still functioning at the level of seclusion. You heard tonight mention push-in. Push-in is not co-teaching. Push-in is meaning you're putting a teacher that teaches students with special needs into a general ed classroom with students with special needs in that general ed classroom. That's not happening now. That's a huge change. That means significant training needs to happen. But I'm not just talking about training, I'm also talking about the culture. Is the culture of this community, including the school and the community at wide, ready to move for inclusion? I've only been here 5 years, but we haven't got very far on inclusion. So the question that posed to the board, are we gonna bring our students home and develop programs that we can serve our kids here? And how are we gonna take on inclusion and convince the community this is the right thing to do for our kids? because right now we're not there. And so if it appears that I'm frustrated, I am, and I'm passionate in what I do. I believe all kids can be successful, and we need just to make sure that happens. Programming has to come first as we budget. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
So will you let us know like exactly what you want or need?
Okay, everybody hear that? I get a want list, or? I will. I have several programs that I have typed up on how those programs could be implemented, the staffing that's needed. It's just a matter of, now the costs have gone up, figuring out what those costs would be. But I can get that information.
Okay. Thank you. Dan Ballard, monthly financial report.
All right, so first of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Douglas for sharing that. That is a sobering number that he just shared with the group. I don't have the numbers in front of us, but I know the numbers that he shared are significantly higher than what we had budgeted for the services for those students. So we'll have to kind of do a little bit of a reset and kind of look at things and see where we're at as we move forward in the coming months. The report I have for you tonight is very abbreviated. It's just enrollment. We don't have the November financials done yet. We've just received the bank statements. We're in the process of working on those. Typically, those would be shared with you at the business meeting, but we don't have a business meeting in December. So, but as far as enrollment for the December count, as far as traditional, we were up 7.32 FTE in traditional, and we were down a 0.85 for an overall increase of 6.47, so about 6.5 student increase, and that gives us our overall variance to budget as about plus 52, 51.9. In January, again, is when we will get that true up, what we talk about. So essentially, they have been paying us at their budgeted numbers, which is about 51, 52 students below our actual. In January, they will pay us back for the underpayment for September, October, November, and December. So you'll get the extra money from that. Plus, they'll reassess you based on your actual FTE, and then essentially the pie just grows because you get a larger slice moving forward. So they'll reassess that, and that will start in January. And then just some of the standard graphs that I bring there along with that. I'm just adding the December numbers there, so nothing too awful, impactful there. But as we go along, as we said, we're just seeing a slight little uptick as far as, go to the next one, Keel. Just a slight little uptick, a nice little smiley face going there. We started in September and it dipped down a little bit in October, November, but it's popping back up again. So sitting there smiling at us. Next one. And then our kindergarten enrollment, again, 22-23 was just really the anomaly where we've kind of seen things lag a little bit as Gold Bar. Things continue to grow here, but Gold Bar, number of kindergartners dropped down a little bit in the last couple of years. Next one, Kayla. And then again, this here is your alternate ALE. So we had a jump from September, October, and again, the scale is fairly small, so a slight decrease over the last 2 months, but nothing too alarming. Next. And then this is that district-wide enrollment head count. Again, head count versus FTE. FTE is what we always live in as far as what drives dollars, but head count is capacity. When you're talking about space, you need to talk about head count. So head count is obviously something that's on our minds as our buildings become more full, especially this building becomes more full as you add more bodies to a fixed space. So that's where it looks like district-wide, and then continuing on, Caleb. And then I'd added these, this is just broken out by building, and you can see the one where it has really grown is obviously this building at SCS, where it was back in 10-11 versus where we're at in 24-25. And then continuing on, just for the individual buildings, and this is a new one I added last month. I think it's the first time that I added this one. So I'll continue to update these as we go. Again, they're on annual average, not the most current month, but annual average. So anyway.
It'd be nice to add in there what the building capacity is.
So this
that is there. That is there. The permanent class capacity.
Oh, there it is.
Is that
Okay,
red line?
thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, the red line is the designed permanent capacity for the facility.
So
Then you have a linear projection as far as what it thinks it will do, and then the actual numbers.
I've got a question. Where did you get that 470?
The 470 is from 21-22.
No, oh, okay.
470 is the data point for 2021.
Okay. So the red line is about 416.
Correct,
Okay,
yeah.
I looked at
Yeah,
that.
416 is the red, that does not change, that's that straight red line across there.
And as
Again,
of
it's
today,
permanent
there's-
capacity, because we've added, certainly added portables, but it doesn't consider portables, it considers the brick and mortar structure, which has not changed. Anyway, have that for all 4 of the buildings, and I'll continue to update.
So that's
them.
the average, as of today, there's 707 in this school.
I think the annual average is now 700 for this building, so it ticked up to, it was at 698 last month, and I think it's at 700 now, so. So it'll continue, if we have students, it will continue to tick up slightly over time. That's all I had, I don't have any other financial matters for you today, and I think I had something else.
The
Am I
levy?
next? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was next. So this is just kind of and again, this was not, I didn't spend a tremendous amount of time on this, but I just wanted to kind of do a midpoint recap. So our current capital projects levy goes for calendar year 23 through 26. So we're now at the halfway point. We've completed 2023 and 2024. We've collected the first 2 years of collections. We have 2 years of collections left. And so we're kind of just taking a look at where we're at the midway point. So next slide. And again, half the levy approved by the voters in April 22. Resources have been used to fund a wide variety of projects. Next slide. And this is the amount that was the voter approved amounts for the different calendar years. Again, levies are on a calendar year, not a fiscal year basis. So just general information on what was approved by the voters. And then Charlie and Renee does an excellent job in maintaining on the website the projects and the details. I didn't want to, add slides after slides and all that stuff. It's all there. Okay, the stuff is there. The various projects completed. If you, like Kayla's doing, if you expand those, it gives us supporting documents and all that sort of good stuff. So they're doing a great job in maintaining that information. So we've done, obviously, the transportation co-op. I kind of like to think of this as in 3 phases. Transportation co-op was phase 1. Other projects, roofs and things like that, phase 2, and then other miscellaneous projects kind of in phase 3. Technology, we've done hardware upgrades for laptops and software and licensing and student, faculty, staff support and so forth, a variety of things that Dave has done and other things that he still wants to do. Continuing on. Remaining projects, these were projects that were identified in the original levy documents that the voters voted on back in 2022. Charlie corrected me today, but I have boiler at GBE, but maybe that's not the case now, but anyway. Roof replacement, GBE, which we're gonna talk about later tonight. Roof repair here at this building, we're talking about tonight. Gym floor at the middle school. PE lockers, stage PA system, HVAC upgrades, carpet tile. And I put some asterisks in there because there are some numbers that are a bit dated that are in there as far as for the projects is concerned. Keep in mind, these levy documents and these projects, some of them were developed in mid-2021 is when these estimates and things were put in place. And obviously, we've had a lot of escalation, cost escalation since 3.5 years ago. So as we now continue and finish out some of these projects that are at the second half of this levy cycle, we need to look at some of those and see if those numbers are still reasonable or not. Next. Debt servicing, this is in an effort to mitigate cost escalation, both 22 and 23, the board entered into non-voted debt, or what we call LGO obligations, to complete projects more quickly. District currently has the following ones are on schedule. Next page. This was the LGO, the first one, and that is a copy of the resolution, the verbiage as far as what the scope of the projects being financed were. At that time, it's non-voted debt, similar to a standard loan, would be the analogy. Issuer is Kashmir Valley Bank, issue date April 28th of 2022. The par amount, or the borrowed amount, was $1.15 million, and the term was 10 years, starting in December of 22 through December of 31. Okay. Next one. Again, another LGO, not a non-voted debt. Again, Kashmir Valley Bank, they really specialize in these types of loans, and they're very easy to work with. Very competitive, easy to work with. Issue date was June of 15th of 23. The par amount was $2.75 million. The term was for 5 years, June of 24 through June of 29, and the resolution there states the projects that were to be financed with that obligation. And then these are the repayment schedules. So the 2022 issue, is a longer issue, and it states where we're at. You make payments twice a year, so it talks about as you find your date and time. We just did the December payments. So December of '24, if you go all the way across, that tells you exactly how much is outstanding as of December of '24. Next payment will be in June of '25, December of '25, and so forth, like every 6 months. Next schedule. And then this is the 2023 issue, so again, shorter in duration, but significantly higher semi-annual payments on this one because it has a higher principal and a shorter duration, so obviously your semi-annual payments are higher. Next one. So as of 12/1/2024, again, made the second payment, we have the following amount of debt outstanding. In the 2022 issue, we have $869,945.91. In the 2023 issue, we have $2.33 million. And total debt obligations as of 12/1, $3.203 million. That's what's sitting there. Next page. So looking forward, and again, when we established these, we had to do some creative things because we had the transportation co-op happening at the beginning, which took about 50% of the levy amount was to fund the transportation co-op. Essentially, you can think of the levy measure was about in three pieces. Approximately 50% was for the transportation co-op. Approximately 25% was for related to maintenance and operations, and 25% was for technology. Okay, that's kind of how it was split. Not exactly, but in rough numbers, that's pretty close. So at the midway point, my point being here is that we're at the midway point. We've completed a number of projects. We have had some other projects that have come up that were not on the levy, okay? Things that have popped up that are of importance, okay? And we're at a point where we still have enough resources that are gonna come in over the next 2 years to fully satisfy these obligations at the end of the 4 years. The idea is that your levy runs through that calendar year, your debt would be fully satisfied, and therefore you have no residual debt that would roll over into the need for a subsequent levy measure. So just touching base, like I said, I think that it is still doable, but obviously things do continue to pop up, things that were not on our radar back in 2021 when this issue was put out there to voters. And then things will continue to pop up. It's just the nature as it is. So far this year, there's been several things that have popped up that are projects of merit that the board felt they needed to move forward and do, but they weren't known back in 2021 either. So anyway, that's all I have. I just want to, as we move forward, we have made, like I said, our minimum semi-annual payments. To satisfy this, when we get to year 4, we'll have to start making some pretty aggressive debt payments to get these obligations, if the desire is to have the obligations fully paid off at the end of the 4 years. If that is not the wish of the board, then that's a different conversation to have. But it is still doable. Things are still doable, like I said, but we will need to be, if that's the goal, be dedicated to that end.
So on your slide, you say decision. Do we give first priority to fulfilling? So are you asking for us to give you something today? I don't think that you are.
No, I think that there is just some projects that aren't, that we haven't done yet. I have built all the projects into a cash flow model, and it is still doable. But like I said, there are some, an example would be carpet and tile. There's an estimate in there for carpet and tile at about $475,000. That number is 3.5 years old. I don't know whether that's even, a reasonable number anymore. Well, if we went to do this, could we truly do that scope of work for that amount of money? I don't know.
So when are you going to present to us changes in costs from things that were on the levy originally and what they cost now?
Yeah, so that's the next step and we just kind of ran short on time, is to do that. Put projected amount, actual amount, difference, whether some were less expensive, more expensive.
Will that be in January?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just, again, nothing more than just a touch base. At the midway point is that, some things were more expensive than we anticipated, and there are some projects still remaining to be done to which numbers that are affixed to those projects are a bit dated. So they may end up being more expensive than that when it comes time to actually do them, which would have implications.
Cameron and Bella, any questions? Mike, Marianne, Isaac, Michael?
Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Discussion of Gold Bar and SES roof gutter project cost update.
I think that, did you have did you get the thing I sent you for the costs?
When is that?
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up.
So these measures, the levy measure had these two roofs as part of it. The costs are higher than they were in 2021. So there's a discrepancy in that, and it's just that the forecasting numbers weren't put into the levy.
So we're gonna do work that we bid out in 21, like coming up, is that,
Yeah, it got rebid,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so in the levy, we did the levy, we used
Yeah,
cost at that point, and then now everything's gone up, so we got the same amount of levy dollars, but now it's more expensive.
So the way these forecasts have to work is it's gotta extrapolate it out, past.
Jesus.
For future, when we do a levy or whatever, and it's gonna be a future project, we need to map out
What it
better
could be.
what our costs are gonna be in the future. Even if that's inflated a little bit, it'd be better to be inflated than to.
I'm surprised we haven't done
Well,
that
I mean,
already.
when you consider 2021,
To
I
now.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, remember 2021 lumber was twice the price, you know,
Yeah.
what it was the year before. I don't know that it's really.
It hasn't shot since then, but
No,
labor,
I know, but I'm
labor
just
has
saying,
gone
like,
up
it was a time when,
significantly.
you know, costs were not exactly
World was upside
something
down.
you could predict.
Yeah.
yeah, right.
So is there a document, or are we just?
Yeah, she's pulling.
Okay.
And there's another little piece to this, they're gonna explain that they have no control over. We have to just address it.
So, this shows what the projections that Marty with Garland had, and within his projections, we're within the costs. There's a dollar amount that we are, this building is supposed to get re-roofed, but there's some rot in the overhangs, and to address that, we have a $200,000 contingency to be able to take care of that throughout the project without having to come back to the board
So
over
is
and
the-
over again with change orders.
Budget 2021 dollars, is that what our estimate was at the time?
Correct.
And then, what are the other columns then, clarify?
So each of those is the estimated cost each year that was forecasted. And then the actuals are in the colored for what the bids are now.
So we
That's
budgeted
without the-
741, and then it's a million,
That- yeah.
almost a million two.
Mhm.
Nice.
If we had used Marty's model in doing the levy, we would have budgeted better.
Just a reminder, Charlie, this came from you.
I know.
Okay. So we need to make sure going forward that we have that built in then.
What model did we use? I mean, I don't think anyone was here for that, but do we know?
Well, I think it's important to note is that while the numbers that were used is what I'm calling these carrying values, so you put a carrying value in there when the levy was promoted in 2021 and then voted on in 2022. You know, in hindsight, obviously it's 2020, if you had gone and used some of this thought logic and built those numbers in there, one of two things would have happened. Either you would have had to reduce your project list, or you would have increased your levy rate. One of those two things would have happened. You couldn't have done all these projects using these higher numbers, without affecting those two things. Either you're gonna get less projects, or you're going to have to ask for a higher levy rate. So, while I understand the frustration, I think that would have been the reality, you know.
Understand,
If it
bottom
had
line
happened
is,
differently.
we've committed these things to the public through the levy. So we're gonna have to figure out how to do them.
So like Dan stated, they are earmarked within the levy, just, and we are also working on some other funding models to go over and beyond what we have on that list.
So I'd rather ask for more if it's correct than not ask for enough and have it be wrong.
And we know that things we've had some pretty high inflation over the last few years. I mean, I don't think any of us would have projected that. Bottom line is, we're gonna have to figure out how to deliver that list, and if it's getting creative with certain payments, or we, you know, but bottom line, we have to deliver this. We're on the hook as a board,
Yeah, we
and
gotta do it.
as a board, as a school board.
So if the levy was in 21, why is it still not done, is my question. Do we have to wait to get paid?
So
The money comes in.
That's the
yeah,
problem.
we figured
That's
out,
a huge
figured
problem.
out
Get it.
21.
The money comes in
My
and
God.
trickle.
Yeah,
Every six
that's why we
months,
did the
it
LGO,
continues.
so we'd have some more money up front.
So yeah, we figured it out in 21, we went to vote in 22, we
Yep.
start collecting in 23.
Wow.
That was why we were trying to do the.
But we
bond
also did some,
schools.
we also paid
As a bond, not, yeah. you
for the transportation of the transportation building up
Upfront.
front.
Got
So
it.
we had
And
to-
that's the part that really
That'd
messed
be
everything
paid
Yeah,
up.
that's
So
what.
we had to
Yeah,
take
how
a
late
loan
it is.
against the levy to get that project done, so we're playing catch up.
They have to be very, when you have a revenue stream that you only receive payments every 6 months,
Yep.
you have contractors that aren't willing to wait 6 months.
No.
So that's why you do these non-voted debt obligations, so that you have resources, and then you pay them back over time as you collect twice a year. So that's what I'm saying, we're now 2 years of the 4 years have now been collected for. You have 2 additional years, and like I said, it is still doable. This was the biggest delta, as far as the difference between the carrying value that we had and the actual value that we're looking at right now to do these projects. Charlie touched on one of them. One of them was a $200,000 escalation for rot remediation that was not built in, not considered,
Yeah.
this, whatever.
So
But
how do we
that's-
get this done? Because we said we would do it.
Well, the model's built to do
Yeah,
it.
the model's built to do it.
It's built to do it.
We just bring in that there's a cost difference
You're
based
just letting us
on-
know it's gonna cost us more
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, we
These
have a
are
cost.
the two biggest projects
Correct.
that are on
Beyond
a
the
lot of
building,
people, yeah, they're on a lot of people's
And-
minds right now,
Yeah.
so.
So when are we gonna start on these projects?
But they're scheduled for the summer of '25, that's this next summer.
Oh, good.
And so that's why this is coming to you right now, because when you get it twice a year over 4 years, and these loans are partially being paid back with levy funds, partially being paid back with impact fees, depending on what it is. But the issue was when you ran it and you had to do the transportation cooperative first, every bit of, we borrowed from ourselves to make that work. And when these other projects fit in, that's why there's this escalation, but
And we're asking today because if we lock in a PO now, we're on today's prices. If we wait until after January 1st, then we're in 2025 prices, so that number goes up.
Motion to pass,
I-
let's get it on the books.
Anybody have any questions?
No, it needs to get
Okay.
done.
Can I wanna go ahead, this is, as business, there's no action on here.
No, it's just to make you aware.
so it's already been approved,
Okay.
just making you aware of what's going on.
Got it.
So we say get it done now.
Also, on the block schedule thing, when they're talking about adding staff, we need to also know if we have to add teaching spaces. And so if we're adding staff to teach, do we have to add teaching spaces as well?
Yeah, I don't
So I
think
don't
so,
know
but
how- I don't know
we'll-
either,
yeah,
and it's-
no, that's a good thing to look at.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a thing to keep thinking about.
Anyone else want money
Someone's
tonight?
got a plan of that.
It's American
So
dream.
question, Jan, can we use any of the timber
Yes.
monies for this to help supplement some of the increase in our costs?
Dan has got it separated out, and some of the surprise things that come up, we do pay for with that resource.
Okay.
You know, exactly where that all is, I don't know. There's it's called Timber Toe, I think is the name of it. I just did an analysis and updated Dan the other day. I've got a tool I can plug the bid amount in and whatever the harvest lumber was and the cost to haul it and the whole 9 yards, and I can tell exactly what the school district will get paid.
We're also working on some large dollar amount grant stuff to.
That was my next question, do we have any grants that we
Oh,
can
yeah,
potentially?
like, the $304,000 one that we were awarded to do the high school and middle school lighting, to replace every single bulb with LED, including the stadium lights. That's a huge one.
That's a
And
big
we have
one.
an even larger one,
Electric
that
machine,
we
yeah.
Big time.
will announce later once it comes to fruition.
Brandy, did you have something?
just about teaching spaces.
Yes, go ahead.
I know that our group is, we're working with what we have right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
But, you know, if we end up
But we'll take
adding more
more.
bodies, we might have to share spaces, we might have to get creative with space. But from the steering committee, we haven't said anything out loud about building more, Charlie, just doing better.
Doing what you can with what you have.
Yep.
That should be our motto, I guess. All right, any other questions for Charlie? No? Okay.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Discussion of board newsletter. We kind of have talked about this, about us sending out kind of our own information.
Thank you,
and-
Marty, thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Maybe we kind of do that a little bit like in a study session and talk about getting started with that, sending our, kind of our own information, like I think we talked about like an update on where the superintendent process is, but coming from the board itself. I think we talked a little bit about it, the WASDA also, so let's not spend a ton of time on that since it's already 7:30, but maybe we can throw that into our next study session. Second read of policy 2125. Does anyone have any questions on 2125, ladies?
Was
Mike?
this the one you said you were gonna run by the mental health committee?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that is the same one, isn't it? Okay, so we are going to put this on hold.
Do you want me to formally vote to motion?
Yes, we
to
will do
table?
that. I wanna just clarify, we're holding it till the next time, so we wanna get updated phone numbers and contact information to get that into the procedure as well, so that, it's all correct, because the numbers change, contact information changes. So can I get a motion to
I'd like to
move
make a
it?
motion to table the second read and move it to the next meeting.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, second read of policy 2022. Questions or comments on that one? Bella, Cameron, Mike,
no.
Marianne, Isaac?
Nope.
Me, no? Michael?
No.
Can I get a motion to approve second read of policy 2022?
A motion to approve the second read of policy 2022.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. First read of policy 6702. And also is an adoption of the procedure, since we don't have this policy. Local Wellness Policy Committee will be requested to be formed. Does anyone have questions on 6702?
You just
Yes.
want a clarification on that. This is kind of, we do have a nutrition and physical fitness policy, which I believe is 6700. However, it is very dated. It's back to 2005, I believe is when it was put in. And the requirement, we just finished going through a administrative review for child nutrition this last week. We had our exit conference today. Overall, I was happy to report things went very well. We do have a couple of small items for a corrective action plan, but this is one thing that came out of there, is it is requirement is at minimum of every 3 years, this policy has to be reviewed. And so what we did was, because ours was so dated, we went out and grabbed the WASDA boilerplate policy for wellness. And we will use that as a starting point for a development of a wellness committee, which will meet twice a year to then customize and work with this boilerplate policy, and then bring it back probably in a year to the board with some suggested revisions.
And
Thank
since
you,
you
Dan.
mentioned that, I wanted to thank Kayla for all of her extra work that she had to do on the free and reduced lunch, because I know you were slaving away in there on that, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, Kayla is very, very helpful. She does a tremendous amount of work on that. I'd also like to recognize Stacy Anderson, our food service management supervisor, was extremely instrumental in preparing for the administrative review, so I'm very thankful for those, both their help.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So did we have questions? No, Mike, Marianne, Isaac?
Nope.
Michael?
Nope.
Can I get a motion to approve first read of policy 6702?
I make a motion to approve policy 6702 and 6702P for the procedure. that goes
All in
with the policy.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so policies for January 2025 are gonna be software service acquisition, and learning assistant program. All right, before superintendent's report, the overnight travel. Bella, are you able to go to the legislative conference? Okay, because if you're not, then we don't have to do that. So, Deanne, you wanna word this, how it needs to be worded? Conditional approval?
Yeah, just conditional approval for student rep to travel to WASDA conference, or excuse me, the legislative conference on January 11th and 12th, which is a Saturday, Sunday.
And just so you guys know, so we don't have to have a special meeting like we did the last time to approve overnight travel. We wanted to just a conditional approval, and then as long as the paperwork is in good shape, then it'll be okay. Any questions on it before we, can I get a motion to approve overnight travel conditional on approval of paperwork?
Motion
You don't have to say
approve
it
the
again.
Traditional travel,
Overnight travel
yeah, that one.
conditional on the appropriate paperwork being submitted. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, superintendent's report.
Let me try to tie all this together, and I'll start, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all of the work Kayla's done. She does just a lion's share of stuff, and she, on top of doing all the food service stuff, she put in all of the Ready for Kindergarten. So I'm gonna start with the goals page. Does the board have any questions about that goal? So what I did is I took the mural work we did on November 7th. If we can pull up the goals first, I'll just go through those real briefly because some of these other documents tie into that.
Is that goals and benchmarks?
Yes. So the four main goal, no, that's the wrong one. I guess I loaded the wrong one up. That doesn't have it completely tied in, but we can use this for right now. I have a more up-to-date copy that I think would have been in your newsletter, so this is the incorrect one.
Is it the one labeled mission, vision, and goals?
Yeah.
Strategic plan, that's on here too. So she has that.
Okay, go ahead and go back to that one then, yeah. And then scroll down. Okay, yeah, those are the correct ones that have everything. The last one was a draft, and so the four goals are from 2019 when we did a strategic plan and then ran into the pandemic, and there were four main goals from that. One was culture, has to do with build a strong learning support system, effective organization around student growth and learning. Second one is curriculum, goal 3, and you can see what's there. Third one is social emotional learning support, and the fourth one is early learning. And so I'll start with the early learning. Part of our efforts have been to increase access to learning opportunities pre-K. Because Mike talked a little bit about some of the early assessments. We're going to have probably in the month of February, March, whenever we have time, is to show you exactly what the assessment data is showing as kids arrive. And you can see that the disparity starts right from the beginning and how to keep up with them. So we're trying to expand opportunities for kids to learn through preschool, or in this case, transitional kindergarten. We have a preschool, and Ready for Kindergarten. And so Ready for Kindergarten is a program. I'll just put some stuff up here to give you an idea. You can open up the first page to that. It is a program that is designed for children and their parents age 1 to 5. You pay for it out of Title I money. I did do this, as I had mentioned, when I was a superintendent previously. And the idea is that they go through 3 workshops a year, and I as a parent needed some help at times knowing what to even do. All of a sudden I had 2 kids and to read with them, and these workshops give parents supplies and ways to work with kids. There's actually lessons that they can do to make sure that they're meeting benchmarks with kids as they're developing appropriate play, etc., stuff like that. So I have been working with the folks down at Kennewick where this started, and the cost, setting up a budget, we would serve, and we can start next month, is when I would want to get somebody trained up to do it. $21,000 for all of the materials. It's $70 per workshop. So if you had 100 kids and their families, for example, that'd be $21,000, $210 per kid.
And they get stuff like this?
And they get these kids to go home, and they're theirs. And they also get an automatic membership to the Reading Foundation and get a book sent once a month to their house. So it's a win-win. Every dollar you spend early is a dollar that you're not trying to catch up. And you will be amazed when you see some of the data of the vast array of where kids are performing just from the day they arrive in kindergarten. And then as a school system, trying to figure out how do you put programming in that catches up when the system, and that's why I've talked about schedules, building in time for interventions and doing all this. We're not built for it. And the culture's got to change to make it happen, because kids are falling behind every day that goes by when we don't have these systems put in place, and it's just a challenge. So I recommend that you support doing this. The cost is $21,000. I would put a posting out or an RFP to have somebody that would be a independent contractor to do it. We wouldn't pay them as an employee of us, but somebody that has a strong interest in early learning that would run these workshops on our campus. And it would get families involved at an early age. And what's held me back, honestly? Money.
I think we've all wanted to do this. I don't think anybody has any issues with this.
Not at all. I'm really happy.
And so, if you
Do you
wanted
have
to,
any
away from here, go look at the website. Taylor just put up all kinds of different documents. It's a wonderful opportunity to support young, or even, I was 30 when my first child was born, and I needed, I could have used some help on knowing what to do and when to do it,
Does anyone have questions on this particular thing? Okay.
So, we're moving forward.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you so much.
There's so much up there. Let's take a look there. Did any of the board members have questions about the goals? Did you have a chance to read them?
Yes.
There's a lot there. I tried to take what we did in our November 7th workshop, tie it into some actionable items that had some benchmarks and some measurements.
We appreciate that you did that also.
And so we'll be, Kayla and I met today and talked, so we've got a pretty aggressive 6 months ahead as the transition will take place, and want to, move things forward. Next item, Kayla, let's go, CFAC. So if we pull that up. These are just preliminary kind of ideas for what we might be doing to get the community engaged and involved. We've got to figure out a solution. We've not passed 2 bonds, but we've got to figure out a way to alleviate our space issues. And so these are suggested, timelines. The first meeting starting in January. And so I can work with Michael on this. I don't know if anybody has any ideas or whatnot. Any thoughts, comments on that?
Do we have any possibilities of like a community member that could lead this up? Do we have any?
I think it needs to happen, and for sure, and we can
Anybody
co-chair
in mind?
Yes. I've got a few folks that I can ask.
If anyone else has somebody that they think might be a good proponent of this that is in our community that might want to help head this up, that would be wonderful. Let Dan know.
So we had some pretty good traction. It was right about it when COVID hit. I'm trying to remember the lady's name who was helping drive that. She works for the city council now.
Heidi?
Heidi.
Yeah.
I think we can ask her. I think she's busy.
No, I'm saying
Yeah.
somebody similar to what Heidi was doing.
Yeah, it
She was
I think
driving
every
that.
successful sort of group on this that I've seen is I've been exposed to a lot has community members driving.
I agree.
That's what we need.
But we can't not talk about it, not try to do something, because we have these are the community's facilities. And we have some very crowded ones right now, and we have an obligation to try to figure out how to deal with that.
Well, if we have some people in mind, let's invite them to the first meeting in January, and we can discuss with them what this would entail.
What was the number of, how many portables were we needing to add to here?
One for sure.
For sure, one, well, and one to replace.
And Heather's, they're building 45 homes out in Gold Bar.
Yeah.
And Heather's, you know, just, and part of the challenge, you know, if you look at enrollment, she is down a kindergarten class, but there's also, you've got the 17 student cap on the kindergartens. So, you know, once upon a time, there might have been 27 kids in a kindergarten class. That's not the case anymore. So that is, helped cause part of the challenge with the space. So one for sure, and I think, you know, that was something that you had asked Charlie, is costing out the cooling features. I talked to him about it today.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we talked about the one building that had to be replaced, that it was just too old, right?
Yeah, that
So
one's
it's
gotta go.
One plus that one.
So
Yeah,
it's two.
Yeah.
The one
yes.
up, the mold one?
Yeah,
The
that's-
one that.
I mean, look at
that
it, it's falling
was-
apart.
Yeah, from the Rajneesh place, that is a classroom was moved out of there, and there is a high school CTE course, because we've got a high school CTE course where some kids are working with daycares and kindergartens as they work through Snow Isle. That's on this campus, and we do some PT through there. The
Mold
challenge
okay for
when
high
you
school.
grow is not just classroom space, it's all the services you have to do too. I was talking to a dad today of a girl that came to us from Kennewick, and he said, going into Kennewick High School, they had like 3 offices. He didn't even know where to go, it was so big. And so, as you grow, the space needs increase as well, not just for classrooms, so. Next item, Caleb. High school gym floor. So did you guys get a chance to see the update?
I did
sent you?
read that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean-
pardon me?
Go ahead.
There is a gauge that is in the gym that measures dew point, humidity, and temperature. And so from the day the floor was placed in there, you know, all those things were measured. Because the recognition of the slight cupping is uniform across it,
Yep.
it's not a leak or a
No.
unique water source.
Nope.
So they have called the manufacturer of the floor and kind of put them on notice. I was expecting a written report today, but I don't have it, and we'll just have to respond accordingly. Now, part of the challenge is you have a different humidity, the bottom of the wood, which is 3/4 inch thick, that's underneath, and the way the airflow works is it goes behind the base cove and it kind of flows all the way through it. But early on in a wood floor's life, it's got very little coating on it as far as finish. And so, because it's, at least this is the explanation we got, because the humidity is different and it's uniform, one of two things. Either the wood was too wet,
That's
and he
what
was
I'm
there
thinking.
taking measurements,
Yep.
because they let it sit there and acclimate to the area, or the humidity is off or something. Temperature doesn't really matter, according to what this guy
No,
said.
it's humidity.
So I've got a lot of data that came from this, you know, this particular gauge that is there that tells you every day from back in when they installed the floor up to today, various hours of the day, what's happened.
And our warranty is?
Warranty's good. It started July 1st of 2024, and it goes through July 1st of 2025. So they have been responsive. And they came right out here, and that's what we wanted them to do.
And they informed the company they
Their
buy from.
supplier of the wood.
Yeah.
You can now feel it. I've been on that floor a lot of times, and I didn't see it up until about a week ago.
It wasn't there in September.
Yeah, so something has changed.
Yep.
All right.
And I'll just keep you posted on how that all unfolds. Next item,
That was the last one.
does anybody have any questions on
We
any
have
of that?
student advisory committee.
Student advisory committee, so I didn't include that plan, but It's consistent with student voice. I'm gonna start a student advisory committee. We started to dabble in this about time the pandemic hit. I would have 2 6th graders, 2 7th, 2 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th that I would work with and meet with on a monthly basis so we can engage their voice in problem solving, understanding what's important to students, what students' needs are. We can take that and make sure that it's another way to get that information to the school board, as you guys are the policy deciders, to understand the influence of what is a student's experience in our school system. This is, it's only 12 kids, but there's criteria to what they would have to do to be involved, and we want any kids, not just kids that are engaged in everything. We want to try to get kids to serve on this that are interested in influencing the steps the school district takes. And I started having lunch meetings with groups of kids back in 2019, 2020, and then it just kind of died off because of the pandemic and haven't gotten back to it. But really trying to integrate their voice into it so that when a new superintendent comes in July 1st, that they can make adjustments with the board or however you want to do it, but not start that right from the beginning right then. You can move it forward from that point. So.
The other thing you had on here was the ESD 189 enrollment.
Yeah, ESD 189 enrollment. That's really just for your information of. Can you open that, Kayla? Of all the school districts in ESD 189, you'll see some percentages that are higher than ours. We grew by 4.82% between October 1, 23 to October 1, 24. 4.82%, and you see one up there, index grew by 56%, but they only have a grand total of 34 kids, so you've really got to kind of throw that out. Many school districts are losing kids. We're gaining them. And so part
We're the
of
highest with students above 500.
yeah. So when you look at that, you can see it. This is all attached to the board packet, so anybody can go back in and see it. And it's really for your information. I got the financial information today on where school district fund balances are, and I'll send you that. So that's just an FYI. You can look at a number of different districts up there. Ours is the Snohomish County. You can see what's happening in every one of those districts, and we're by far the highest growing district in our district, or in Snohomish County. But even ESD 189, which is Island County, Whatcom County, Skagit, and Snohomish.
All right, thanks for sharing that. Anything else?
That's it.
Oh, or WASDA. We all some of us went to WASDA. Dan, Kayla, Michael, myself, and Cameron went to the WASDA annual conference. And we're going to, at our January study session, we discussed each of us presenting something from each of the sessions that we went to, because we all separated the sessions that we went to so we could get the most information as possible. So then we're gonna do little presentations for you guys. Anything else to add on that one?
No, I think it was valuable.
Yeah.
It's hard to get away. You're trying to be a citizen and work and serve the school board, and I can't tell you how important all of you are to this process and us, either moving forward or not.
I learned a lot. There was a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Food, but
Food was not stellar.
no, the hotel was okay. But, and Cameron had to put up with Kayla and I on the drive there and drive back. So.
And I was kind of disappointed that I wasn't able to travel with our 2 student reps, because I looked forward to talking to them, but there will be another time.
All right, anybody have anything else? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, meeting